Welcome, 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 my lovely brothers and sisters. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in for the second part of Inverted Consummation of the Age, which I started yesterday. This is a very interesting book, of an interesting chapter from the book Battles Between Shadow and Light, which is written by Wes Penre. Please go to the websites mentioned in the text box below the video of Wes Penre himself. And I would say buy yourselves this book as well as the story of ISIS and the war on bloodlines. These are very interesting books to read through. And I would highly recommend you to go to all the live book reading videos that I have presented from this the story of ISIS book. They are in actuality the background information of the chapters of this book, Battles Between Shadow and Light. So let us continue on with what is it, chapter 9, Inverted Consummation of the Age, part 2. It is almost a 45 pages counting chapter, so I will do it in 3 or 4 parts. We start with saying the first thing here. Everything in the world that is happening in the world is all according to a script. There is being rolled out a script, and this script is exactly the same script that was 2,156 years ago, also the same script that was being played out. That had to do by that time. We went from Aries into Pisces, or Aries, we are now still in the Pisces age, and so in this age the same script needs to be rolled out, played out again, as done many times. So, but in this case there is a difference, because in actuality the age of Aquarius is starting round about 2100s. But the archons are in a very haste. So they have shortened the time span with 50 years. And now they want to accomplish this script of theirs in 2045. If they succeed, is all about us. If we wake up more and more and more to the remembrance that we are a 12-stranded human being, of whom 10 strands have been closed down, so to say, and has been told to us that, oh, that is junk DNA. Of course not. Um, and then on top of that, the two strands that were allowed to have us function on are also locked to make sure that we would be completely locked into the frequency fence, and thus in this third construct known as matrix, this is being done through the double helix. The double helix serves as a extra lock on us. Um, but we as a soul group, as a human soul group, we also have a mission here to fulfill. But before that, I want to say that as you can see, we have here this picture of the yin and yang. Um, this was a chosen picture by my spirit, and it tells a lot. Um, we are living in a shadow world. Yeah. We are living in the world of archons. This world is known as Kinoma. Kinoma is the inverted version of the Pleroma. The Pleroma is the actual universe that um, we should be in. So the Kinoma is the 4% universe that we are operating in, and that 4% is completely locked off due to the frequency fence. The archons are copying everything that is happening in the pleroma. So the kinoma and the entire fundament is in actuality a copy of the pleroma. But the archons also lack spirit, so they cannot create as we can. We do not need technologies. Why? Because we are a 12-stranded human being. We have a spirit body, we have spirit. And we have been an experiment, so to say, in which we are in actuality the first creatures in the entire universe that got born with spirit directly. We do not have to earn it. We got it already from birth. So this is the difference between us and the archons. So we do not need technology at all. Um, we can create through spirit. Um, what the archons now are doing, what the setup is creating this metaverse singularity. Metaverse singularity is the so-called promised heaven mentioned in the Bible. Yeah, but it's not heaven at all. It is hell in actuality. The metaverse and singularity is built with a reason. The leader of this world, the one who is pulling the strings, his name is Marduk. He has a plan and he wants to fulfill this plan. He wants to start a cosmic battle against Orion because he wants to invade Orion with the purpose to sit on the throne of Orion and take over Orion completely, which means he wants to destroy the entire pleroma. And um, in that matter, he wants to have the kinoma in actuality function as the pleroma, but it's not. So um, Marduk needs an army for this to do, and he needs avatars for this to do. Well, whom is forming this army for him? Human soul group. We humans are the ones that are being misused and abused for this end game agenda. By luring us into the metaverse singularity, Marduk wants to trap our soul and spirit into technology so that eventually our spirit body comes free And so he and his cohorts can ride our spirit bodies. Better said, can take over our spirit body. That spirit body looks like us. So what is happening? He is tricking the Orion universe by letting them think that we are en masse coming home, which is not the case because we are going into this cosmic battle with Orion. Yeah, so we are used against Orion as a weapon, as cannon fodder, and as shields. This is why Marduk wants to have us hooked in the cloud, which is nothing more than an hive mind construct, so that he can program us in such a way that we do his bidding without questioning anything, and so that we become the perfect soldiers for him. That is the main reason. And to you, I ask you the question, do you want to be part of this cosmic war? But first, things first, Marduk also has planned a war here on Earth. Why? Because a war on Earth makes it happen that he can push in the entire plan. This war at the end makes it able that a lot of humans will beg for the return of Jesus slash Marduk. So that serves Marduk, and then he comes as in the book of Revelation is completely explained. He fulfills that so-called prophecy. He fulfills that storyline by presenting himself as so-called Jesus, which he's not. Um, and many people are being fooled by believing Jesus has returned. Oh, but they do not see that in actuality they are dealing with a full-blown psychopath that is showing them falsely that he is Jesus, but in actuality he is Marduk. Um, so then he has a lot of people doing exactly what he wants. So these people are then vulnerable for the next steps in the plan, and these people are begging for a new world. Oh, and then Marduk says, "Ah, but I have promised you that in my father's house there are many mansions." So then what the next step then is that Marduk then is luring all these people in the metaverse singularity. And in the beginning, the metaverse singularity shall be as a sort of indeed a new earth thing like world. So that many people start to believe that they are living in the new earth, which is of course not the case, because it's a hologram that he sets up to make the people falsely believe that they have entered into the new earth. And then eventually, if people get used to the fact that they have arrived in the new earth, then this hologram will be taken away, and then people are trapped, and then they will see the actual reality, and that this whole new earth is not a new earth at all, but another level of hell. So that is in short, in a nutshell, what is happening on earth. And I know that many brothers and sisters, because I see that many of you do not really want to hear all this, which is okay, your choice. But if I would may say, please take this information in consideration. And if you look around you in this world, then you must come to the conclusion that there are things going on that needs more explanation. What also is happening, that this world is rapidly declining into a death world where everything is based on death. This is exactly what the archons want. Um, And this whole agenda about climate and carbon dioxide and blah, 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 all these agendas um, from the World Economic Forum are not what they say in your face that they are. These agendas are not to save us, are not to save Earth. These agendas are in actuality um, based on total destruction of this earth and all life forms. What they are also doing is rapidly taking the oxygen away from earth. They do this in several ways, and one of the ways is by rapidly chopping away each and every tree in this world. Trees are needed to create oxygen to make sure that we can live. The lesser amount of trees in the world, the more problems we get with oxygen. Yeah. Why are they doing this? Because in the meantime, they have sprayed for at least 30 years nanobots in the air. And so we are breathing it in, we are eating it up. It is in everything that we eat, that we drink, that we sniff. So this is done with a reason to make sure that the human body from inside out becomes a cyborg body. The same for animals. Of course, the animals are also part of this, unfortunately. So their bodies are also going to change from the inside out in cyborg bodies. Um, we need to wake up to all this. And cyborgs do not need oxygen because they are in actuality robots. Robots do not need oxygen. So this is why all this nonsense of this carbon footprint and whatever, it is all bullshit. Yeah. And the main reason for this is to make sure that we do not see the actual script behind all these agendas. And all this carbon nonsense, it's only there to make sure that we do not see that in actuality the oxygen is taking away from this world. So humanity is terraforming this world in another level of death dash hell. Yeah. And I know that you do not like to hear this, but it is what it is. And if you see how rapid all the trees are being chopped in this world, then you also must come to the conclusion and observation that the oxygen is also rapidly going away from this world. And I bet you the coming years we will hear more and more people whom have breathing problems because they can't breathe that good anymore. We will hear more and more people with saying that they are short of breath, and then they try to place that on a bad condition. No, it has nothing to do with your physical condition. It all has to do with the fact that they are rapidly taking away all the oxygen from this world by cutting and killing all the trees in this world. So wake the heck up. Wake up and remember whom you are. We still can turn the tables, but we as a human soul group need to wake up rapid. All right, let's start. I will do 10 or 11 pages. Let us start with the first point, the ultimatum. It came to pass then, when the light stream had ingathered into Pistis Sophia all her light powers, which it had taken from the emanations of self-willed, that she became shining throughout, and the light powers also in Pistis Sophia, which the emanations of self-willed had not taken, became joyful again and filled themselves with light. And the lights which were poured into Pistis Sophia, quickened the body on her matter, in which no light was present, and which was on the point of perishing or perished. And they raised up all her powers, which were on the point of being dissolved. I have mentioned, and I is the writer of this book, Wes Penre, I have mentioned a few times how the archons got trapped in the same system they themselves created. That was, of course, not their intention, but a counteraction from Orion. The above citation is from the Gnostic text Pistis Sophia, which is not a part of the Nag Hammadi. Pistis Sophia got depleted of her light because of what was happening here in the Kinoma, particularly on Earth. We used up too much spirit, too much light belonging to our mother in the pleroma, and distributed it across the matrix for the archons to enjoy and for us to starve, because they are starving us out by stealing light from us and making sure that we are giving it to them also by participating in all their plans and in their script. The excerpt conveys a story about when Pistis withdrew as much light as she could from the Kinoma and gave it back to herself, and our world got darker and she got lighter. The Gnostic text Pistis Sophia, which is extensive, was written around the 3rd or 4th century CE. So Sophia retrieving some of her spirit must have happened before that. So it is obvious, however, that when the amount of spirit diminishes, it will inevitably become darker or gloomier, paralleling increased ignorance. This is in actuality what we also see, because more and more, unfortunately, humans become more and more narcissistic. Narcissism is related to becoming more dark. So Sophia was starving and depleted of energy. This must have only been a temporary solution. So both Pistis and the other aeons knew she would soon get depleted again. So Orion gave the archons an ultimatum. The archons had promised to let humans evolve. This promise they never done. They never kept their promise. Graduate and set us free. But they had only released a few humans who were far from graduated and apparently severely traumatized or otherwise extremely damaged. And then we go to an important piece of this chapter. We are the saviors. Not some being outside of us can be a savior for us. This is a wake-up call for all the believers and all those people who believe in a patriarchal God. This God is Marduk, a full-blown psychopath that people on earth are worshipping. And let us say that around about 10 million people are worshipping him, if it is not more, through all diverse religious systems. And all these people are in this trap that this patriarchal God shall save them. If that was the case, then we would have not the situation that we are in. So is this God truly saving humankind? No, he doesn't. But who can save us? We ourselves. We are the only ones who can save ourselves. No one can save us. We need to do it all ourselves. So, where are the saviors? Why isn't there anybody here to save us? Most readers of this book and who have read up to this point have done so because they have had enough of the matrix and are more than ready to move on. And I have discussed many times why it is so difficult to just free this soul group with the snap of a finger. It is a complicated matter, which of course involves us humans to a significant extent, but also the entire kinoma, Orion, and the pleroma alike. Our mission has more than likely failed, and the human soul group needs to withdraw from this construct en masse. Unfortunately, if you ask humans what they want, they will have no clue what we are talking about, and they would laugh us off as people with tinfoil heads. If Orion would just come here and take this construct by force, most people would most likely side with the calm kings and thus with the archons, which in actuality um, a lot of people are already doing without consciously knowing this, unfortunately, without knowing what they are doing, without knowing what they are doing, trying to protect Earth, comma, their false home, working side by side with their governments and the global elite. It would be chaos and one of the worst case scenarios possible. Now it is come to a point where singularity is near. This, as Kurzweil says in his new book with this title, Singularity is Nearer, where there is very little time for humankind to wake up. So don't waste your days, I would say. Although discussed in my previous works, I will give new insights into what the singularity really is. It is not just an infamous idea the archons suddenly developed out of the blue. Kurzweil says it is our so-called natural evolution. Of course not. That is true for the kinoma, but not for the pleroma, but not in the sense we have been told and not in the way anybody thinks. So they are trying to get grip on our path of evolution, which should be, in actuality, be natural. For us to complete our original mission, we need to come together as a soul group, being ready to counteract darkness with light. And if we did, Orion would come to our aid. This does not mean they are not here now. Some are working on different solutions. So there are some of Orion here. We are not forgotten. We are not abandoned, although it seems there is no one answer when we dial their number. In the meantime, I was advised to go through the grid and assist others who are ready to do the same. My contact discussed the Wes Penre papers information with me over a plus 5 year period, and that was in an effort by Orion to get those started who wish to leave now. The rest of the population, even those who go into the singularity, will be rescued later on. Only those who stubbornly go with the calm kings, comma, even after the consummation of the age, also known as the end times, will succumb and eventually join with the engulfing cosmic ocean, which is represented by the monad, comma, the mother goddess herself in the pleroma. It is my understanding, however, that even those who go into metaverse still have a chance to save themselves after the potential attack on Orion, but only if the Khan kings lose the battle. So I wouldn't take that risk and wait on that. More about that later. So in summary, we are our own saviors. In fact, we are here as the potential saviors of Orion and the Pleroma. So not only are we our own saviors, but also the saviors of so much more. Some people have mentioned to me that every party in this cosmic drama, from the Pleroma to the Abyss, seems to have their own agenda or selfish interests. And these interests contradict others' interests, and this keeps the problem ongoing. This is completely correct, observed. But it would be more accurate to say that everybody works in their own interest. It is all about survival. The Archons want to survive in the Kinoma, comma, Orion wants to survive in the eighth heaven, and the Pleroma wants to keep its luminary bright and effective in the spirit realms. From a spirit perspective, the interests of the Pleroma are on top of the list because with a defective Pleroma, there will be defective creations. And everything would exist as a consequence of that. We may think this is unfair and unjust, and for us humans, it is. But the fact remains, regardless of whom we blame for the chaos, ultimately our primary interest is to protect the Pleroma, because without its light, even the spirit realm will over time turn into gloomy and thus into darkness also. Yet in our current situation, our chief interest, in my opinion, is to withdraw our consciousness from the matrix and return to Orion. At this very moment, the best thing to do is to work on ourselves and help those around us, but only those who want help. And exit through the grid immediately after we die by finding a hole in the grid so we can go back to Orion. About having no children. So when I tell people who have read what I have shared over the years about not having children, I am met with mixed responses. Some understand the importance of not having children and thus stop contributing to the matrix and the archon's survival, comma, while others who might be of the younger generation naturally had planned to get children. My contact in Orion, however, was very firm about this, even suggesting that for people who intentionally violate this, considering they know about this information, comma, there will be some consequences when they get to Orion. There's also another reason for this restriction, something I think my contact foresaw. We all know how the L-ite urged people to get needle inserts. Yeah, 2020 rollout, and this book has been published in 2024. And get boosters during the coward, yeah, that is how he calls it, in 2019 and 20 incident. Although they didn't force us, they always need our consent. They made it extremely difficult for many people to refuse the inserts. Many lost their jobs, had difficulties finding new ones, they couldn't travel, and there were other inconvenient consequences as well. Why was it so important for the authorities, which means archons, to get us needle inserted? In addition to killing off millions of people, people are dying all over the world as I write this because of these inserts, these needle inserts. The needle inserts include a lot of nanotechnology. That is mainstream knowledge. Nanotechnology also changes our mRNA and therefore our DNA as well, something that has been discussed too by several medical doctors and lab workers. The more needle inserts people get, the more they change, the more changes in their DNA structure they experience. One effect the inserts create is they make people sterile, which is of course in the meaning of the whole script. They do not want us to procreate either, so in the future we will not have that choice. Moreover, we will lose our sexuality, our libido, and no one will be interested in building families anymore. They will accept that the government takes care of the child, so to say, issue. All this is mainstream and in our faces. So in the Q&A sessions on my blog, people have asked if those who took the needles can still go through the grid. And again, please go to the website links leading you to the websites of Wes Penre himself. And I have replied, yes, that is still possible. I doubt the inserts in themselves would prevent anyone from leaving through the grid. But we must keep in mind, as I have written before, that DNA is not only present in your body, but it is in actuality in your blood. And the spirit fire is in the blood cells. The spirit in itself will not be seriously affected. We are a 3-unit composite, which means soul, mind, spirit, spirit body. So we also have an Orion soul, created by Sabaoth, Enki, comprising his and Zoe's DNA, So we can function as an avatar in Orion and move around in the cosmic ocean. This means our DNA extends all the way through Orion, but most likely not to the pleroma. Therefore, when they alter our DNA, it affects the three-unit composite all the way to the eighth heaven. My contact in Orion acknowledged this, and the Pleiadians, whom are working with Barbara Marciniak, have said the same thing. So why do the Khan kings, Khan, want to change our DNA with cow needle inserts? The answer is simple. They want to exchange cells between brackets spirit fire in our bloodstream with nanobots, something I mentioned already in my 2016 book, Synthetic Superintelligence and the Transmutation of Humankind, a roadmap to the singularity and beyond. Um, Based on Kurzweil's and Silicon Valley's revelations over a decade ago. So this is coming from the horse's mouth. They want to override this with nanobots. Needle inserts are just a step on the way, even though we might have a new, between quotation marks, global disease, and they are already very busy to instigate a new one. So you are informed by this. Coming our way soon, followed by more needle inserts, or they might want to so-called prevent a spread by pre-inserts. Now you get the understanding why these archons, archon kings, want to mandate the needle inserts. They are the building blocks for what is coming next. Elon Musk's brain implants that will work in tandem with his satellites. They need us to get these implants to properly connect to the metaverse. And I already said that the metaverse is the archontic technological copy of the pleroma. And also of the so-called new earth, heaven, whatever you want to call it. The goal is to create a completely new bloodstream with nanotechnology, between brackets nanobots. This will make us cyborgs, also coming from Kurzweil and Silicon Valley itself, and virtually physically immortal. Why should we need immortality if we are already immortal beings? Because we are spirit. We already have eternal life. We need to remember this. We already are immortal. We need to remember this and stand up. As Mr. Ike says, get off your knees. These nanobots can replicate, and if an organ for any reason needs to be replaced or repaired, the goal is that the body will repair failed or injured organs quickly and automatically with nanotechnology. What about spirit in our original blood cells? For a while, nanobots and bioelectrical blood cells will exist side by side, but eventually spirit will connect with the AI cloud via metaverse. At that point, most spirit will leave the cyborg body and continue her existence in metaverse connected to the nano world. Now to the point, the L-ite doesn't need the needle insert. The L-ite doesn't need to needle insert everyone. It is not the current generation they are concerned about. Here it comes. Open your ears. It is the two next generations they are concerned about. Now you get to understand why they were all about the children in 2020 and 2021. Why this full-blown attack on the children? It is the two next generations. So let's pretend we have a young woman who is not inserted, not needled. She meets a man she wants to build a family with. Because many people are inserted today and more will be soon. Let's say her husband is inserted. Then they bring children into the world. This obviously means that the children get the mother's and the father's DNA, respectively, and thus via the father they get the altered DNA and will most likely be considered needle inserted. This is a relevant reason not to get children, but even if both parents are not inserted, they still contribute to the archontic agenda. Now you get to understand the entire agenda by the rollout of the SMACSIM plan round about the end of the 1800s, begin 1900s, and why they made this a worldwide demand that children needed to be vaccinated from a certain age. Now you also hopefully get the understanding why the archons, archon kings, are trying to demand that babies need the needle as soon as they got birthed and are coming out of the mama's tummy. The sooner the baby gets exposed to these nanobots, the better. Yeah, for them. That's how they are. It's not my mindset, it's their mindset. Because I think it's horrific what is going on here. When bringing children into the world, besides, who wants to bring children into this chaos, especially since we see that the singularity is coming nearer and nearer and nearer. So can AI develop consciousness? That's a question many have. This is a question people often raise inside and outside alternative communities. When we read and watch the mainstream news, it certainly seems they want us to prepare for a future where androids, indistinguishable from humans, will walk among us. To be very more precise, they are already walking among us. Some scientists indeed proclaim AI can develop consciousness and that they are close to bringing it about. What I believe they are doing is developing a physical clone that are custom made, and it is like developing a human body that runs on artificial intelligence, having much greater brain capacity than any single human. They are not developed for our convenience, of course not, or to be our servants. They are created to be our masters in this 3D realm. As we know from the creation of Homo sapiens, Adam did not move around until there was spirit in him. Something Zoe Sophia inserted. There is no spirit in a robot or an android, let alone a cyborg. But there, because eventually in a cyborg, there is in a certain way this idea of spirit. Um, but robot and androids do not have it. But there is a potential for a considerable amount of intelligence that is artificial based on accumulative human mass intelligence. However, it doesn't end there. What if, when these androids are fully developed, the consciousness they put into them is not human consciousness, but archontic consciousness? We humans will, in a generation or two, be fully developed cyborgs, raised as lab babies, connected to metaverse via our brains and nanobots. By then, they have potentially converted the human spirit into using nanobots rather than biological blood cells to store spirit, which the Lite call, between quotation marks, consciousness. So long as we are biological, the archons can take human bodies here and mingle with us. They already do this consistently, and I would suggest there are many of them here, so-called two-unit composites, which means soul and mind, because they are not of spirit but of matter, albeit they have some spirit added to their physical core being. When humankind becomes nanotechnological, the archons will, too. If they want to live among us, which I am sure they must and already do, in order to complete their tasks and script. Conclusively, the androids we see under development will be vessels for the archons in our physical world, and they will have a brain capacity much higher than ours. By doing this, the archons can put consciousness into the androids and continue being our masters here on site. From there, they can control the metaverse, both, and here it comes, from the astral and from the nano-earth, where all spirit is removed, save for those humans who stay behind and refuse to join metaverse. All right. What will the non-singularists eat? That's a good question. According to Kurzweil, everything in Earth will be nanobotted. So trees, rocks, water, soil, animals, insects, birds, mountains, water, you name it. Everything will be nanobotted. Let this sink into your mind, please. If a person refuses to conform to the singularity and everything is nanotechnology, including the person, where is the nutrition? How do they get their vitamins, minerals, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and so on? It is a fact that all of us have nanobots in our body. We breathe it in the air through the chemtrailing, so chemtrails are not only chemicals only. There's more in it. It is in our medicine. vitamins and minerals. It is in each and every supplement you take. It is in most of the food we buy because it is in the soil and in the animals. We can't avoid it. They put it in everything, also in the food of your animals. To some degree, alters our DNA. So all your pet's DNA is also becoming altered due to the food that they are eating. Yes, the entire food industry is also contaminated completely. So this nonsense of organic and biologic is nothing more than just a nonsense. You can say just clever marketing to make us falsely believe that we are eating organic and biologic. Because the soil of the farmer, your local farmer, is also poisoned and loaded with nanobots. So nothing is organic, nothing is biologic. There is no way to bypass that because we need to eat and breathe. Yep. Even the logical, even the local organic farmer has nanotechnology in his soil. Well, I would say leave the word organic out of it because there's nothing organic to it. So we can get it from there as well. So there will be no problem for survivors of the singularity agenda to find food. The body will have adapted. There's also a chance that when humans, singularists or not, are fully integrated into the new brave world, they do not need to eat because everything is nanotechnology. Keeping and losing our identities. There might be different reasons people are afraid to die and even leave the matrix, going to Orion and eventually to the pleroma. Most people, to various degrees, are afraid of the unknown. It's ironic, however, because it is not unknown. We have died many, 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 many times and have also been recycled for uncountable many times, because this recycling process is already taking place for 15,000 of years. And Orion is not unfamiliar territory for us either, not even the pleroma from where we originate. The scary thing for many is that we do not remember. The most common denominator in people I have talked to is that when they narrow it down, they are afraid to lose their ego, also known as the identity. So let us discuss what happens to our identity by addressing different scenarios. 1. Going to Orion. Let us say you are Lena in this incarnation. You eventually die and go through the grid. You have found yourselves a hole in the grid, and so you come back to Orion. When you're on the other side, you merge with your higher self, which is the spirit that was buried in the blood cells of your deceased Homo sapiens body. Through your DNA, you also carry with you all memories since you were born in Orion. In the far gone past, you exit as Lena, but you also regain all other experiences from other lifetimes across your ancestral line. You will still be Lena, but you also have other experiences and memories you can draw from if you wish to incorporate any of that into your current personality. These incidents are no longer giving you trauma because your subconscious and unconscious mind do not follow you out of the grid as something hidden and inaccessible. It is wide open and everything is there as memories and experiences only, without the trauma part added to it. Therefore, in Orion, you still keep your identity, but you can add so much more to it. Scenario 2. Going back to the pleroma. It is my understanding that without exception all of us go to Orion first, where we will live for a long time according to the Gnostic texts, the Bible, calling it so-called heaven. Yeah? And my contact. There we have options. We can develop our skills as creators. We can choose to be part of a new soul group, but with a completely different destiny, or we can do anything else that interests us. So far, so good. But people get anxious over, after the Orion Empire has ceased to exist, we one day return to where we came, i.e., the pleroma. What happens to our identities? Since we are extensions, or better said, emanations, of Pistis Sophia and her counterpart Geradamas. Do we merge with them and become one with them again, as we were originally? Do we become Pistis and Geradamas as complete aeons? If so, do we lose our individuality? I, Wes Penre, who has written this book, would say no. And there is a reason I say that. Instead, we become ultimate creators, our original selves. As we know, the archons replicate and copy and mimic everything that happens in Orion and the pleroma, and then they invert it. Singularity stands for oneness dash one nexus point, which is the AI cloud. So the singularity is the copy and mimicking done by archons, and so they have mimicked and copied the pleroma. Dash our overall consciousness in one place, like an all dash embracing aeon. They, the archons, use technology to get us where they, the archons, want to take us, when we humans can do the same thing without technology and without being controlled and manipulated. Case in point, no one in the metaverse cloud loses their individuality, but they will also be completely connected with each other. Yeah, that is the block dash chain connection, through also telepathy. So there are many ways that we are being connected with one another, which will be technologically augmented through nanotechnology. But Paul will still be Paul. Keep this in mind when we go to the next section. The consummation of the age replica, and compare it with the pleroma. So I would suggest we do not lose our identity in the pleroma either. We will continue existing as individuals under the, between quotation marks, umbrella of Pistis Sophia and Geradamas. Scenario 3. Staying in the matrix. None of us would be here today if we hadn't gone through the tunnel of light, which is the false light, at least once after the last lifetime. It is ironic then that the matrix is the only place we truly lose our identity. And most of us have lost it thousands of times after each lifetime. That is what we should be concerned about. That, if anywhere, is where our anxiety should go. We must realize that the person you consider to be you in this life is not you at all. It is just a personality you created for yourself for this life only. You were born with a completely blank slate. Your mind was emptied of all memories, and you started over from scratch. And then they also gave us amnesia. The person you are today, you developed because of many factors. E.G. How you reacted to your environment, comma, your upbringing, comma, your friends, comma, life experiences, choices you have made, and everything else that goes with living a human life. One day you will die, and everything you have learned about this life will be wiped out in the recycling center after you have gone through the tunnel of false light. You get a new artificial soul. Yeah, and this tunnel of false light is in actuality a hologram. And you get a new artificial soul and mind that is completely empty. And again, they attach amnesia to you. And you will be shot back into a baby body within the same bloodline you were born last time. You will perhaps reincarnate as your own great granddaughter if you have direct descendants, or as someone on your cousin's ancestral line, because that is also your bloodline. Therefore, those we call atheists are in some ways correct. In a sense, we only live once because our personality slash individuality gets destroyed after each life, not to be recovered until the person exits through a hole in the grid. Only our amnesiac three-unit composite, soul, mind, spirit, spirit body, lives on, but because we have no memories of the genuine three-unit composite experiences, it is of little value in the matrix unless we reconnect with it through inner work. My point is that if a person is afraid to lose their personality as an individual, they should avoid the tunnel hologram of false light with all their might and instantly leave through a hole in the grid. Now is the appropriate time to present the archontic answer to the consummation of age. And I will leave it here and start talking about this in the third part, which I will probably do later on the day. Because I think it's unhandy due to the time to start this, because it's a long subchapter in this chapter. All right, so I close this second part by saying thank you so much for tuning in through Facebook, through Rumble, through YouTube. Thank you for listening along. I truly hope that you re-listen to this video, ponder upon the information, meditate upon it, and ask your own spirit to help you to get more clarification about the information that is presented to you. I also advise you to re-listen all the videos done before this one. Also the ones whom are all about the bloodlines, and also the one about the English royal house. All these videos are very important, as well as the ones done about Virgin Mary and Mary Magdalene. Please re-listen to them, listen to them in the accompanyship of your spirit, and ask yourself questions. Question these to your spirit, and ask your spirit to help you to answer these questions to get more clarification, information, so the things become more clearer and understandable for you. All right. I want to say to you, thank you again, and I wish you all a beautiful, joyful day filled with a lot of love and joy and wisdom, truth and revelations, all coming from your own spirit. And let us listen to a piece of music titled Better Days and created by Band Sound. Thank you so much, and maybe seeing you later on the day, round about between 4 and 6 o'clock this day, this afternoon, for part 3 of this inverted consummation of the age. Um, I would say lecture. All right. Thank you so much and see you later on.